What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Walleye Files. We're going to do another Tackle Talk Tuesday. Jake and I are pretty excited to bring you guys some awesome spring techniques here. Green Bay, Wisconsin, we've got some open water already, been on the water a little bit already. Jake, we've got some open water on Mississippi River. I think you're going to get some soon, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping to get out on the Mississippi this weekend, but I still haven't pulled the boat out yet. So we'll see. I was gonna go get it today, but I don't know. Things just kind of fell behind today, didn't go get it. So we'll see. I got some stuff to install, got, all your spring stuff to do yet. So I don't know if I'll make it, but I do know the ice is getting off the lakes here pretty quick, so I'll be doing some crappie fishing within the next couple days. I'm hoping. So excited to get out and do that. When are you getting out again, Brandon?
Man, I'm not sure. We start this crazy outage thing at work where we shut down. And for you guys who don't know, I work at a nuclear plant. We shut down one of the units. We do a lot of maintenance. We work around the clock. So I work nights coming up here pretty soon. I'll be working a lot. But my night's off. I will definitely be getting on the water. One thing to keep in mind, guys, conditions are changing really fast. Um, like today, as we film this, O'Connell, Wisconsin's still locked up. You can't get on the water with a boat yet, and you should definitely not go on the water walking out there on the ice. By the time this airs, it'll probably be open, but you still have a lot of ice on the Great Lakes, on the basic, the Bay, Green Bay, and other places floating around. You can really block off a lot of places, block off launches after you've launched. So just, err on the side of caution. If you're going out on the Bay, Green Bay, Lake Erie probably has some ice logs and other stuff floating around. Same thing, Mississippi River. Every spring, you've got trees and other things that have fallen during the winter, and just exercise some caution. But yeah, I don't know, man. Let's get into it. I'm excited for this
Well,
tackle
hold
talk.
on here. Hold
Hold
on,
on.
Brandon. Hold on here. You said you got out on the Fox the other day. Let's hear about it. I
I
want I
might
want
have,
to hear all
yeah.
about.
So we posted a little video. My first fish of the year came on a Ned rigged feisty fry with 1/8 ounce Ned rig. Yeah, it was
Know
pretty
what color
cool.
you were?
I do, and I might have to share that in a little while.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll wait on that.
yeah.
What were the water temps?
They're cold yet. They're 35 degrees in the river. So those fish are definitely just starting to come into the river yet. There's a lot of fish that stage in the river in the fall, but I feel like a grand majority of your biggest fish, your spawners, are just starting to come into the river now. We've had some, 3 or 4 days here of 40 to 50 degree weather. And it's really moving that water temperature up. There's still some flow. The water's super low, like as low as I've ever seen it. But the fact that we had some rain last week, there's a lot more flow than we've had in the last year. It was probably running 3/4 of a mile an hour, which is not a lot of flow, but to make the fish bite, it's enough. So
Is it pretty muddy?
it was super
Was
muddy.
it? Hmm.
It was super muddy 4 or 5 days ago. It really started to clear up on Friday and Saturday morning. It was probably 10 inches of visibility, which is pretty good. But by today, is it Tuesday today? I think today's Tuesday. Oh,
Yep.
man, we both work a lot. We've been doing a lot of podcasts, so forgive me. It's Tuesday, um, and I think I had over a foot of visibility now. Those fish should really start to snap.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of big fish coming out of there. Some muskies, some
Yep.
cats, walleyes, the whole thing. A lot of big muskies too, actually.
Yeah, I think they're in the river eating whitefish. Those whitefish go in there. I'm not sure if they spawn in the river as well, but there's a lot of whitefish in the river. It's definitely wreaks havoc on your eyes when you're staring at live scope because there's marks everywhere. Um, and those whitefish look really eerily similar to 18-inch walleyes. Um, in my eyes, I don't know.
Just
Tom
have
Wynn's
to,
eyes, not so much.
yeah, I was gonna say we'll have to go back and watch the Tom Wynn episode, see how he's identifying them.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into a couple bait presentations, and then we could talk about life outside of our baits. How about that? Go ahead, buddy. You start her off.
Man. All right. Now we're talking spring here.
Yep.
So,
Springtime presentation. So right now through probably April into early May.
well, let's start let's start with glide baits.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people don't think of them as a springtime bait, right? Honestly, a lot of the time I'm throwing these year round. I'm throwing them um I'm throwing them shallow, right over the top of weeds. I'm doing, right off of transition lines, and this bait right here is the one that I'm going to use right off the bat. The Rip and Glide by Walleye Nations. And the reason for that is this water is still really cold. They're not going to want to, just crazy action. And this bait falls really slow. Falls a lot slower than some of the other ones. Your hyper rattles, Rapala, jig and wraps, they fall really fast, which is great in the summer. This bait though, with the slow fall, I find that one to be really good. And then I do have the real small one here too. Let's see if we can get it to focus. So
Yep.
this bait, have you ever thrown these smaller baits up shallow, Brandon?
I haven't, but it makes sense. Like I feel
Yeah,
you control your fall rate a little better, like you were talking. If it falls a lot slower, you can really just make those tiny little hops in the sand, especially for post spawn fish. I feel like that'd be a really effective bait.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and that small one too is really nice because you can, say you're fishing, um, like around me, I like to fish shallow. A lot of guys fish really deep around opener. I fish pretty shallow. And I'm finding a place with some vegetation, it might be coming up 2, 3 feet. I might only be in 4, 5, 6 feet of water. So that bait, I'm just gonna crack it right along the top of the weeds, just kind of let it hit every now and then. But kind of keep it up off bottom, so I'm not getting tangled in the weeds all the time. But that bait has produced quite a bit for me in the past years. So, what do
Awesome.
you got, guy?
You know, we trying to see which one I want to do first, man. I got a couple of them here. We're gonna go. We'll go with this one. This is kind of a staple on the Bay, Green Bay. This is a number 6 rip and wrap. If we can make that focus a little better
Yep,
here.
there you go.
Beautiful. There we go. So this is number 6. I like the number 6 better than the number 7 personally. That number 7 is just that big gaudy profile. I like the smaller profile. Now I know guys who strictly use a 7 and they are way better at fishing this bait than I am. And they catch more fish on them than I do. And you know what? Sometimes that's how it goes, but I like the number 6. I like the profile of the number 6. Um, I've talked about it before. I like to upgrade um, a lot of my hooks. I upgrade my hooks to a Fusion 19. Um, I just like the bigger profile hook. I extra wide gap, a little bit bigger hook on the back. I upgrade it to
Size.
number 6 usually. So these are number 8s. Um, and I like to upgrade to a number 6, but everybody can hear if you've never fished a rip and wrap, it's got a pile of rattles in it. Um, Again, it's a staple on the Bay of Green Bay and on the Fox River. You'll see a lot of guys throwing this bait. Um, and I don't feel like we're going to present anything today that's crazy out of the norm, but I think we can help dissect how you can catch more fish. And if you've ever watched head to head fishing, my buddy Jesse Brady kind of used a different way with this bait to catch some fish a few years back. And it's something that I really like doing as well. And you don't need to rip this bait up out of the water. This bait's going to shimmy up and fall down. And that's really cool. And that works sometimes. But when they're in a negative mood, I'm going to reel down and just pull. And that bait's only going to come up off the bottom, maybe 3 or 4 inches. And it's just kind of bounce around similar to that glide bait, similar to what a goby does. It's going to kind of shimmy sideways. So it's going to shimmy sideways. It's going to give off a little bit different vibration than it would if it was going straight up and down. And that might get you a couple more bites.
So, a lot of bodies of water are really color specific. Is there any colors that you really focus on? on the bay? Is it, some guys, give me 5 colors that, or even 3 colors that seem to
So
really
I feel
produce
like
out
this
there.
chartreuse shad color is really good. Um,
Chartreuse is always a great color walleye
right. So
fishing too.
especially in the rivers, you got a little dirtier water. Uh, on the Bay of Green Bay itself, purple and gold are kind of my two favorites. It's kind of a staple. Purple and white is kind of, that's okay. A goby style color, something brown with some white on the belly, and then I really like the red craw color. I'm not sure what those fish are. I don't believe they're feeding on crayfish, this early in the year, but that color seems to produce really well when you've got a lot of rock, like the northern part of Green Bay, Sturgeon Bay, Door County. The Marinette side. That color seems to produce really well.
I've heard a couple of the bass guys talk about this, and I've never really done some research into it, but I did hear somebody throw around the idea of, that cold water affects their eyes. I've never looked into this. I've heard of bass guys talking about it, and that's why they always throw craw colors and pink and weird colors in the spring. Wonder if there's any truth to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. A little unnecessary name drop. I think we're going to have Joel Nelson on here in the future, and I think we need to ask him that question. Just guy knows a lot more about fish than I do, and
He absolutely does.
that's definitely something we need to talk to him about.
Yeah, for sure. I only brought 2 presentations down with me here, Brandon.
Okay.
Go ahead with one more, and I'm hoping it's the one that I'm thinking it is because that is kind of my third presentation.
Well, playing off of what you just said, we're going to look at the Lake Effect Lures Feisty Fry.
Yep.
I'm guessing that's what you were hoping for.
It is. It is.
Um,
And
Go ahead.
there's a reason for that, but I'll let you continue and then I'll expand on why
Okay,
that's my
so
bait too.
um, this is the Feisty Fry. We've talked about it before. This is on the Lake Effect Net Head. This is the exact bait I caught my fish on the other day. This is an 1/8 ounce net head. When there's not a lot of flow in the river, I like to really drop it down to the lightest I can fish effectively. Um, in the back here, there's a rattle chamber. You can remove the rattle. For those of you who don't know that, if you just want a regular plastic, if they're super moody, they don't want to bite, I can remove that rattle, or I can put that rattle in it and see if they can hear it. I hope they can hear it. Um, so something that's going to help you guys catch more fish, or at least get more bites. You want to rig a soft plastic straight. And when I say that, I see guys rigging soft plastics through the side of the body or just off center a little bit. And you'll still catch some fish, right? Especially when the water warms up, those fish go a little crazy. They want to eat. And I didn't do a great job of rigging this one super straight, but if you can see, that hook should be right down the center of that bait.
Look at the
Nice
movement
little.
on that tail.
Oh, I know it. It
Isn't
doesn't
that good?
stop.
Yeah,
It
that's
doesn't stop.
great.
So
It's a
what?
fantastic forward-facing sonar bait too.
Yeah. So most soft plastics are going to have a line down the center from the mold. And what I try to do is I try to line my shank of my jig with that center line, and it'll ensure you're always at least close to dead center, at least close to holding your bait straight. Because if your bait's not straight, if your bait is, let's see, off to the side, that's not gonna fit. That doesn't look natural. Swimming through the water, that's not going to swim through the water natural.
And your
Like I
hookup
said,
rates aren't going to be great either.
no. So like I said, you can remove the rattle. This is just a little rattle. Oh gosh, rattle chamber. I took it right out of the bait, and you can just push it right back in there. Super simple. Doesn't take anything. Doesn't take any time. Just like that, and that bait's ready to go again. So yeah, second one is the Feisty Fry. This is gnarly char.
Is that the 3
Uh,
or the 4 inch?
this is the 4 inch. Um, yeah, so the 4 inch gnarly char. That's what I was fishing this weekend. Caught some walleyes. No really big ones. I think I lost a big one, which kind of breaks my heart a little bit because it's been a while since I've caught a giant on the river. But yeah, that's definitely a bait that Rob at the Swamp Donkey Shack has been selling a lot of. Um, I feel like it's going to be something, especially when that water starts to heat up, that these fish really go crazy for.
um Brandon, do you mind taking that feisty fry off and just showing off that Ned head for me? Because that is my second presentation, is that Ned
Ooh,
head
I can
right
do that.
there.
All right. So,
And there's a reason for that. So that Ned head, I don't know if you can see it there, but that keeper is the best keeper that you can get on a
I'll see if I
jig, in
can get
my
close.
opinion.
I'll see if I can get closer to the camera here.
Yeah, either that or we can take a picture and put it in the description too. But yeah, but no, that keeper, put your hand behind it when you do that. I think it'll possibly focus up. Maybe not. There you go. Anyway, we could take a picture and post it in the description too.
Sure.
Or you can find them at the Lake Effects website. They got them on there. But that keeper is fantastic. A lot of like the competitors' jigs, they'll have like a what looks like a little hook to hold your plastics on or your minnow on, your night crawler. That that bait there doesn't have that hook, so it doesn't destroy your plastics, so you can continue to reuse them. It keeps them on there a heck of a lot better. Every time I get a bite on some of the ones with the hooks on them, it just destroys that plastic, and you end up going through plastics like crazy. Those ones, they hold it on with pressure, which is super nice for night crawlers too. But I'll put shiners on that. I'll put you know fat heads, crappie minnows, anything on that, and I
So,
really
yeah,
like that
that's.
bait.
Go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry, I
No,
cut you
I was
off.
just gonna say I really like that because it'll set, like a Ned head is supposed to. It sets that minnow up straight up in the air instead of just laying flat on the bottom of the lake, and I feel like you get a lot more bites that way.
Yeah, that's the one nice thing about this hook is it's a longer shanked hook, so you can use it obviously for a plastic. That's what it's made for. The nice thing about the head is you can put a little bead of glue on there, really hold your plastic in there tight. But again, it is really awesome for a crawler, fat head. It works for live bait just fine. And again, without a hook keeper with the keeper it has, it doesn't rip that bait apart whether it's live or plastic.
Yep. Yeah, that's a fantastic jig.
All
All
right.
right,
Well,
what do you got, guy?
my next bait is again another staple here in Wisconsin, especially in the river systems. Um, and I feel like a lot of other places it's overlooked. And we've got a blade bait. This one's made by Hedon, I think. This is a Hedon sonar. There's so many different variations of blade baits out there. Um, the thin fisher, you've got guys who make them in their basements. I mean, this is super simple. um
Walleye Nations has a really nice one too.
Fantastic one. And these hooks are a bit upsized. I'm not sure. I just grabbed one out of my box here. They're a little large for hooks, but i really like um I really like natural colors when the water starts to clean up. So like this week the water's starting to clean up in the Fox River. So a little more natural gold, purples. When the water gets kind of dirty, that lemon drop, kind of a white with some chartreuse on it's really good. Um,
Great color.
yeah, if you look back on a head-to-head match Mitchell and I had last year, Mitch caught all our fish on a. I started slow. He caught all our fish uh, on a blade bait, a smaller one. This is a half ounce. I think he was fishing a quarter or a 3/8 ounce. Um, and it was a lemon drop color, but that water was dirty. It was windy. It was nasty. Those fish weren't really active, at least not where we were fishing. Um, what I
How are
like
you fishing that?
so same thing, similar to a rip and wrap. I'm gonna pull. You don't have to rip it. I'm gonna pull and follow it back down. Um, but again, you can drag it. You can drag it. You're gonna pick up a lot of junk off the bottom, leaves, sticks, stuff off the bottom. But you're keeping good contact with the bottom. If you're fishing gravel, as opposed to like the middle of a channel where you've got a lot more mud, you're gonna definitely get a few more bites on that edge when you've got when you're dragging a blade bait instead of when you're dragging in the mud. If that makes sense to everybody.
Do you
Um,
ever when you say dragging it, are you talking just slow rolling it, or are you just kind of
no,
pulling
buddy,
it, reeling in the
I am,
slack?
yeah. So I'll fire it out to, to the edge of the channel. If I'm fishing a channel edge, or if I'm fishing, a little gravel bed, and I'll reel down to it, and I'll just pull and just shimmy that bait across the bottom. You're never getting that bait more than 2 or 3 inches off the bottom when you do it. And when they're really negative, that's sometimes the key to catching fish. Last thing I want to talk about with this bait, this is a half ounce. Like I was saying, a lot of times I'm going to start with a half ounce, but again, depending on current, depending on conditions, I may change to a smaller or larger bait. I don't really have a lot more, a lot of larger ones than this. A half ounce blade bait's kind of, tapping out that end there on the high end, but quarter ounce and 3/8 are something that I definitely throw a lot, especially when those fish are in a negative mood.
Well said. All right, Brandon, are you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Okay, so I got two different baits here, same kind of presentation, a little bit. I'm gonna work them differently, but I got here the Walleye
Oh,
Nations. Can you see that at all?
yeah, I
The
can see
color
it.
is Frankenstein. That one of my favorite colors for sure. This is the Boogie Shad by Walleye Nations. So this one, same kind of thing. I don't know if you can hear that too.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing as the glide baits. I'm going to work it right over the top of the weeds. Um, and typically around me, it depends on where I'm at. Obviously, if you go up to Leech Lake or something like that for opener, you're going to want to target sand, uh, shallow sand flats and stuff. Around me, I like to target weed beds. So I'm going to be throwing this over the top of the weeds, slow rolling it back to the boat. Just about the easiest presentation you can do. And I know a lot of times, like when I have clients in the boat, I don't necessarily like to throw crankbaits because some people aren't super experienced casting. It can get kind of dangerous, but it is a very easy tactic. So that one I will do probably about 50% of my time. And then I have this is a shallow hit stick by Berkeley. This
Okay,
is a
sure.
size 9.
That's a great
Yep,
bait from the spring too. Yep.
absolutely. So this bait, um, I actually work it, I think, a little bit different than most people. I actually work that like a jerk bait, right over the top of the weeds again. So that bait, I am going to slow pop, pause, and long pauses in the spring too. I'm gonna let it sit there for a few seconds. I'm not just gonna keep cracking it. I'm gonna let it sit, sink right down to the top of the weeds, and then just start cracking it again. And a lot of times you'll see those walleyes come right up out of the weeds and just slowly follow it and then just inhale it. So that's a fantastic way to catch fish in the spring too.
Yeah, don't get discouraged, guys. If you're fishing a, a hit stick or really any shallow crankbait like that, a jerk bait, a jerk bait style crankbait, don't be deterred if you feel one bump it and you don't hook up. Those fish, they'll come up and just tap at it with their nose. A lot of times, and I mean a lot of times, I'm gonna pop it once after that. I'm gonna let it pause, and I'd say 75% of the time they're going to hit it again because they're still right following it, right? So those fish are
They're
going to
just
come up.
checking it out.
Yeah, they're just checking it out. They're going to come up and bump that bait. And a lot of times it sounds silly, but it's almost like they get embarrassed. They're going to bump it and kind of back off for a half second. You're going to give it one more pop, one more twitch, and let it just sit. And usually the next pop or twitch, if you wait 3 or 4 seconds, those fish are going to come up and eat it.
Yeah, I actually got on a really cool bite like that actually. Up on Lake of the Woods a few years ago, we were fishing a Minnesota tournament trail up there, and it was a little bit tougher of a bite. It was earlier in the year. And we would watch these fish. They'd come in and we'd watch them on forward facing sonar, and you could see them come up and they would bump it. And on Mega 360, you could see them buzz out to the outside, and they would just circle that bait and circle that bait. And it might take them 2 minutes, but they'd come back and hit it every time. But if we didn't have Mega 360, we wouldn't have seen that. we would have just thought, oh man, we're missing these bites. They're bumping it. They're not active. They're negative. They're neutral. Whatever it would have been. But with that technology, we could see that they were still there. They were still interested. They were just checking it out. So yeah, like Brandon said, don't get discouraged. A lot of times, we're spending all this money and buying all these baits and to outsmart a fish with the with the brain the size of a pea, and sometimes it just doesn't go that way. Go back out the next day, try it again. You'll end up getting them.
All right. Last one, and I've talked about baits like this before. We're gonna go with hair jig again.
Green Bay staple.
It really is, and I
You
fish the
can't.
hair jig from right now. As soon as water opens up, as soon as we have open water until, gosh, I don't know, ice out. I mean, you can do so many things with this bait. Um, and so this is kind of my staple here. I'm gonna throw. I really like purple and white. Personally, this dark purple is really good on Green Bay. White, purple, and pink. Purple with some chartreuse when the water's a little dirty. That could be really good.
Hey, Brandon.
Yeah,
So Green Bay is a very unique body of water in the sense that you guys work those baits differently than anywhere in the country.
sure, absolutely. Well, I think what's special about Green Bay is it's multiple ecosystems kind of built in one. You've got lower bay fish and in the northern portion bay fish. They even look different. Like you've got these whiter looking, not super pretty, and they're nice fish, but they're not crazy pretty walleyes. And then you've got these deep water, clear water fish that are big golden, like the one behind me here. Um, so it's almost like they're two different fish, but they definitely all eat a hair jig. We talked about in the last podcast, the last tackle talk, that another staple for this bait is you need to have, let's see, a stinger hook. The stinger hook, you are legitimately doing yourself a disservice if you don't fish with one. You are going to miss 30 to 40% of your bites. It's just how it goes.
Do
Um,
you tie those yourself, Brandon? Are you tying up
you
number
know, I
sixes or
I've tied some, but I usually don't. They sell these right at Fleet Farm, right at Shields, right at Cabela's. They sell these little 1.5 to 2.5 inch stinger hooks. They work great. They've got like a rubber grommeted head, so they're crimped. They got a rubber grommeted head. They slide right over the hook. They keep it nice and tight so it doesn't move all over the place. That stinger hook stays in one place. Your hair doesn't get caught up in too bad. Um, and a lot of times, the less hair on your hair jig, the better. It just kind of flows better in that water. Um, man, it's hard for me to not fish on Green Bay without a hair jig tied on.
spring until fall?
Yeah, truthfully, spring until fall. Something else that I really like to do throughout the year. I know we're not doing a fall tackle talk right now, but I'll take this stinger hook off even. See if I can do. Gosh, without hooking myself. Something I really like to do in the fall to give this bait a little larger presentation is I'm gonna outfit it with a plastic. So there's your feisty fry. You're gonna put that plastic right on the hair jig. So you're giving yourself some scent. You're giving yourself a larger profile for those fish that are feeding like crazy in the fall. Don't like to do this in the spring. Your water's really cold. Your fish are a bit lethargic. I don't need the huge profile. I want an easy, simple meal right in their face. So I don't like to do this in the spring, but in the fall, this is game on right here.
It looks like such a weird presentation, doesn't it?
It does. I don't. So
Yeah.
you kind of touched on it. We've worked that bait differently here than anywhere else in the country. Um, and I'd started talking about the forage in the system, and then I got off this whole ecosystem thing, and I don't know. I probably got ADHD, and I don't remember things, and
I thought you were trying to maybe
squirrel.
keep it a secret for people
Oh,
that
it's
aren't
definitely
from
not a
the
secret.
area. So I didn't push. I didn't push.
No, no, no. We should push. We should talk about how we work this bait. Personally, I've got two methods that I work this bait. There's guys all over the country that throw a hair jig and they work it like a tube jig. If you've never worked a tube jig, you are ripping that bait. Rip it let it jump, let it fall. Let it jump, swing, and fall. I don't like that here. Our main forage, northern portion of Green Bay, alewives and gobies especially, real close to bottom. If this is bottom, gobies are skittering across the bottom. Same thing with my hair jig. I'm going to point, turn a little bit, and I'm going to reel tight to it, and I'm just going to do a reel. And then a reel. And you are literally waiting for your line to bounce bottom. Thump, thump, thump. So you're going to thump your bait across bottom. Sometimes, as we talked about last time, we're going to use a 5/8 ounce to really thump that bottom, really shoot down. Sometimes we're going to use a 1/4 ounce. It's just what the fish want that day. Normally, I start with a 1/2 ounce, let the fish tell me what they want, but I'm just going to keep pointing and reel, point and reel. And a fish is going to come up and whack it, and you're going to feel every bit of it. The other way is kind of a lift and glide technique, and I really started experiencing that last year. I really like that for post spawn fish. I'm not really sure why they like it so much, but those post spawn fish that I was catching last year were coming out of the Oconto River. You're going to throw that hair jig. They're in the sand. They're kind of recuperating. They're not chasing down bait by any means, but you're going to reel down. You're going to lift, and you're just going to kind of let that bait flutter and then touch bottom. And you're going to feel, that bait the whole time. You're not going to lose contact. You're not going to drop your rod tip and put a bunch of slack in your line and let it bounce bottom.
I do it.
Go ahead.
So if you were to pick any of those baits and you could only bring one in the boat with you, which one are you bringing out on the bay?
Probably a hair jig.
Hair jig?
And I feel bad
what
for
rod
my
are you going to
friends.
use?
What rod am I going to use?
Yeah.
Something 7 to 7'6", medium light, extra fast, for sure. That's the only
Medium
rod I
light?
use. I like medium light rods. I like to feel everything that's going on. It's a proven winner, guys. The National Walleye Tour was won here in Green Bay last year by Eric McCoy on a purple hair jig. It's won thousands of dollars on this body of water, and it's caught millions of walleyes, and I mean millions. I've caught thousands in my boat with this bait.
Yeah, I think if in Minnesota, man, it's hard to beat a jig and a shiner.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the
if
most
that's what I'm gonna
Minnesota
do,
tactic there is.
it is that and a bobber.
Right.
I think if I'm gonna go out, and I can only bring one thing, I think that's what it is. I'm gonna have some nice healthy shiners. Keep that water cold. Keep your aerator on. They are fragile fish, so take care of them. And I think honestly, it depends on how deep I'm finding the fish and what kind of winter we had, what kind of spring we had, but I think I'm honestly going to go medium extra fast. I think I'm going to go medium extra fast because I can snap that bait a little bit harder if I need to. The medium light extra fast, I do like that bait if I'm throwing like some smaller ripping glides or something. I'll throw that rod in. But I think honestly, I think I gotta go with just a jig and a shiner.
Do you have enough feel out of that medium extra fast rod to fish a subtle bait like a shiner effectively?
Yeah, see a lot of times people make the mistake of going too flimsy with their rods, I think, and then you're just casting your bait off. You're going through shiners like crazy. They're super expensive, so I try to go a little bit stiffer, but that extra fast gives you just enough feel. Most of the time they're just going to pin it to bottom, depending on how you're working the bait, obviously, and how they're biting that day. But most of the time they're just going to pin it to the bottom, and you're just going to feel that little thump. And I mean, you can get down to them and just really crack them. Make sure that you're not losing that fish. But a lot of times, like I said, if I'm fishing real shallow, like 8 or under, I'll go down to a medium light extra fast. Just because when you set that hook with a medium extra fast and you're in that shallow water, I mean, it's ripping them up out of the water. So yeah, I will downsize every now and then.
I like it. That's awesome.
Yeah. You ready for open water, buddy? Because I sure as heck am.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
man.
you guys don't know, we're gonna be filming here in geez, not even 2 months.
Yeah.
Not even 2 months, not even 8 weeks, 7 weeks, 6.5 weeks from now, we're going to be filming. So we're going to be filming the first portion of the Walleye Files Green Bay series. We're going to do a series on Green Bay this year. And then we're going to start doing lake profiles all over the country, um, starting with Green Bay. We're going to work on Missouri River, Minnesota lakes, Michigan, Lake Erie. We're going to really expand this thing this year for time and just sheer resources and just trying to figure this thing out. We're going to start with Green Bay with a couple shows on Green Bay. Really trying to bring you guys some educational value, working these baits and some others. Um, Catch some big walleyes, have some fun, and really try to bring you guys, some new methods, maybe some new tips and tricks on to catching some walleyes.
And some new baits. I think a lot of times too, like a lot of guys, they throw the same baits, and these walleyes, I've seen the bait, over and over and over again. And a lot of times you find a company that makes something a little bit different, and those walleyes haven't seen that before. So, it becomes a really good bait. So I think a lot of it too is bait selection that we're going to be showing.
Absolutely. Absolutely, guys. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate all of you. Jake and I have had a heck of a couple months here, really starting this thing up. It's just been special for all the feedback we're getting from everybody. I think people are liking this. If you've got feedback, if you've got things you want to see, things you want to change, shoot us a message. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to see it. And check out our sponsors. We are presented by Striker Brands. Striker Brands. Jake's got Striker on. Lake Effect Lures.
Always.
Lake Effect Lures, of course. The Rattle Paddle, the Feisty Fry, the Ned Head. They also have a ton of tungstens for ice fishing.
The biggest selection in the world, actually.
All right, the biggest selection in the world.
It is.
Great ice rods. All around great people. Again, same with Striker Brand. Super happy with the people that we've been working with. Striker Brand, Jeannie, Ario, Craig. You guys are all awesome. Matt and Phil and Eric, all guys at Lake Effect. We appreciate the heck out of you guys. And Walleye Nation Creations, guys. We both just signed on with Walleye Nation Creations. Super excited to be a part of their pro staff. We got some really cool stuff that's coming down the pipe here between Walleye Nation Creations, Lake Effects, the Walleye Files. Again, we appreciate the heck out of you guys, and we can't wait to bring you guys some more cool stuff.
Yeah, make sure to go over and follow our YouTube page. We're also on Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, all of the social medias. So head over there and give them a follow.
Awesome. Well, Jakers,
you ready?
Let's do this thing. We appreciate you guys, and get out on the water, catch some walleyes, and we'll see you next time.
Shoot us some pictures too.
Yeah, lots.
Love to see some pictures in the comments.
Awesome.
All right, bye guys.
Peace, guys.